Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So those clips that you just saw, that was basically the first rain that we have gotten since we planted these beans behind me. We did get less than 2/10 of rain, I think about a month ago. Otherwise, we basically haven't gotten a single drop of rain since. Basically, our crops are kind of struggling right now. But we did just get an inch of rain yesterday, which is really good. That's what those clips were that you just saw. It is good that we got the rain, and it's certainly gonna help. But at this point, our crops are kinda, let's just say they're not gonna be so good when we go to harvest it. Right now I'm in the bean field here, and you can see they're okay. This part of the field is a little lower, so the more you get up on the hills and stuff, they're a little shorter, but overall this is about what they are. They don't seem too bad, but it is July 6th today, and basically they should be a lot taller. We did just spray this field yesterday before the rain hit. I don't know much about chemical stuff and all that. I've never even sprayed before, so I don't know if the rain will hurt anything right after we sprayed. But I think it should be okay. But there's quite a bit of ragweed. In fact, if I show you, spot over here is probably the worst, but you can see here the ragweed just dominates over the soybeans. They grow basically 3 times its height. The cornfield over there, that side of the waterway is actually really clean. So when we have the corn over on this side, on our rotation, the ragweed will actually grow about twice as tall as the corn. And even though the corn should and usually does get pretty tall, it still grows taller than it, and it hurts it quite a bit. So that's basically our problem weed, is ragweed. And then this year I noticed these things. I'm not good with my weeds yet, so I don't know what this is, but they've got really big leaves, and they just kind of canopy over all the soybeans and take all the sunlight away from it. So I don't know what those are. If you guys know, leave down in the comments, but hopefully the stuff we just sprayed on it will kill all this, and then the beans can have good sunlight and can get to all the nutrients it needs. Basically, we're hoping we end up with $0 in the bank account by the end of the year after harvest. That basically just means we don't lose any money, but we don't gain any money. So hopefully we make up just enough money to cover the inputs like the seed, fertilizer, and chemicals, stuff like that. So yeah, this year's been kind of a bummer for crops, but there's nothing we can do. We can't make it rain. We don't have irrigation systems, which is pretty much, well, it is the only way you can water a crop is with irrigation. But you can see over here the corn, it doesn't look too bad from over here. It's still short over here. You're at eye level right now, so it's just about almost head level, which is still a little shorter than it should be by quite a bit actually. But down in the lower areas, it actually doesn't look too bad. That is the one thing about farming, is you're gonna have good years, you're gonna have bad years, and you're gonna have worse years. this year just happened to be a not so good year. Which it's gonna happen. And the past, well, 4 or 5 years have actually been really good years. Last year was pretty average, but the year before was actually a record-breaking year for the actual farm since it started, which is, it's pretty good. Hopefully the drought has broke, and we can still get something from this. If we don't get much rain from here to harvest, there might not be a harvest. So over here is the sweet corn. We hand sprayed this a while ago. We sprayed it with all the same stuff, but it took about 3 batches with the hand sprayer. And the first batch that we did, we went straight through the middle. And I don't know how well you can tell this, but the middle seems pretty great. And then our second batch over here, it pretty much killed the edges. They came back a little, so they're pretty short right now. But our third batch did even worse over along this edge. Past here, there's basically nothing. There's a few here and there that survived, but they're not really gonna produce anything. So you can see the difference. Right now you're at eye level, so if I come in here, you can see this stuff is okay. It should be taller than this, but it's there. And you can see we've got tassels, we've got little corn growing. That's what these little hairs basically are. Each one of these hairs goes to one separate kernel of the cob, basically. But this field just varies so much. You can see you just walk a couple feet and it's real short again, just above my waist. And then you walk a little further and then it's back to eye level, maybe a little higher, and then it's down again. So it's just kind of weird why it is doing this year. So we're probably not going to get too much sweet corn, but we should be able to get something out of it. So this is the lower area. You can see you got the ditch from the road, and right in here is actually 2 culverts going across the road here. So this is basically where all the water runs down to, and all the water from the waterway comes through here when we get water, or rain I should say. So over here you can tell that with the corn. Again, you're at eye level and it is super tall. So it's pretty crazy to see how different it can be just in a little lower ground, a little bit better soils down here. So these things are going to produce fairly decent ears. This right here is basically what the whole field should be right now, maybe a little taller. Basically this whole bottom part right here is fairly decent. You can see it doesn't look too bad. Right here's just a little spot, kind of ran over with the sprayer, but it's what happens on end rows. You can see it shortens out a little bit through here, but overall it's not too bad throughout here. Spring is the most important time for especially corn. That is when it's going to decide how big of ears it's going to produce this year. And if it's a really, really dry spring, it has already planned to produce small ears. No matter how much rain we get from here on out, it's gonna produce the size of ear that it has decided already. Which is gonna be some small ears. So yeah, that's an update on the crops. I guess to summarize, they're not doing so good. Alright, so I'm back. I'm actually out in the middle of the cornfield right now. And if you can tell behind me, it's not looking so pretty. So first off, we'll start here. This right here is basically the average of the field. You're at eye level right now. And you can see they're past my waist, but not even close to my chest, and definitely not over my head. As we come up here, you can see there's almost like a cutoff here. You can see how it's tall there, and then it just gets real short, where there's basically nothing there. And you can see some of this stuff, you think it's just coming up. There's kind of little patches here and there. This is right on a side hill. So you can see there's the hill there, and then there's the ditch that goes through right there. This spot in the field is obviously one of the driest because it's not growing. There also might be some different types of soils on this little side hill. But it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and already you can see how there's a little dust, and it's starting to get dry again. So that shows you how dry we were before we got the rain. Down towards the waterway, right down there, it's a lot thicker, a lot taller, a lot more there. But you can see the more I walk up here, this patch is actually pretty big. So it's kind of a bummer to see it. And the sad thing too is this actually looks good compared to a few days ago that I was out here. The stuff that was this size was basically like completely rolled up like that. But they've actually opened up a little bit since the rain. But they were basically just wrapped up like straws. Other thing too I'm noticing really bad is, especially the better stuff, it seems like, is almost just as bad because the leaves are almost getting burnt. Or I don't know what you would even call that, but it's just the tips of it are starting to dry out. You can see there. Most of them are like that. And this spot actually isn't too bad. But I'm just gonna kind of keep walking here and not have any cuts in the video, so you can see how fast this stuff really does get tall. Some ragweed there. So we're past my waist. I'll keep you guys at eye level the whole time. So throughout this part, it's pretty much just past my waist, which is what most of it is. And then you can see there's quite a bit of leaves that are kind of brownish. And already you can see it's getting taller. We're almost at the end of the field now. And then, boom, we're at eye level. So it's pretty crazy how short a distance things can change with the corn. It starts narrowing down at the end. And then we're at the end of the field. So you can see how quickly, basically, it got tall. But pretty much the entire field is about waist level. So I'm about in the middle. Up there is the house and all the barns and stuff. And then over there is the other end. I think it's almost a mile from here to the other end. But this low spot all the way through here is our really bad spot for our ragweed. And you can see it's pretty tall. But one thing I'm noticing already, it's a few hours later from the previous clips, and I don't know how well you can tell, but that chemical is starting to burn the leaves already, which is really, really good. In fact, some of these are starting to curl up, and this is what we want. We want this ragweed to die as fast as it can, basically. Because this stuff, the beans are having a hard time poking through. You can see here's a bean here. But it's blocking the sun. The ragweed's taking all the nutrients and water from the soybeans. And it's having a hard time growing, basically. So the sooner this stuff dies, the better. The other thing too I think is kind of neat, we tilled 2 rows basically all the way up and down, and right here is the cutoff of where we tilled. So it's kind of crazy to see how the ragweed grows so much better in the tilled up stuff rather than the no-tilled. Now the beans are looking worse in the no-till. You can see, here's my ankle, about there. And surprisingly, in the ragweed, if we can actually find some, here's a good example, it's almost up to my knee. So that just kind of shows it might grow. The soybeans actually might grow better in the tilled up soil, but ragweed grows better too. And it's probably like that because you got all those seeds from last year from the ragweed, and when you till it, you basically bury those seeds, and that's how you germinate them. The seeds that were in this part that were no-tilled, they never had a chance to get underground to start much. You can see there's still some here and there that managed to grow, but nothing like over here. So I think that kind of shows, at least with these conditions, the ragweed is obviously a lot worse. The other thing too I wanted to show you is these soybean leaves are kind of starting to crinkle up a little bit. I don't know what you call that, but it's kind of weird. I've never seen that before. So it's just kind of almost crinkling up, but I've never seen that before, so that's kind of strange. I know that's due to the drought mostly. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you guys out in the middle of the field because it's quite a bit different out in the middle of the field rather than up by the buildings and stuff. It makes sense because the spots that have higher moisture levels, pretty much the lower spots, all grow okay in the drought. Obviously, they're not good. They could be way better, but they're better than the rest of the field. Here's another good example. There's not much ragweed right here. There is kind of throughout, but so again, right here's the line where we tilled. And I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but right here the beans are way thicker than over here. I think you guys can see that. So there's not really any ragweed in here. There is up further up there, but just this little patch. It's quite a difference. So you're probably wondering, what would happen if we tilled up the whole field? Well, it's hard to say. The other thing too is this is the lowest part of the field. This is right next to the waterway. So it could be a little bit wetter too. That helps. It's hard to say. It might grow better beans, but we also might have to spray more because we're going to have more weeds, because the weeds also grow better then. Here's another example. Right there is a low spot. It's where all the water comes down and drains into the waterway. And there's that big long patch of ragweed. Good. So that just goes to say, when the crops grow good, so do the weeds. And there's not much you can do about it other than spray. And that's all you can do pretty much. So anyway, guys, I think that's going to be the end of this video. So hope you guys learned something or something like that. It's going to be an interesting harvest, that's for sure. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.